Sigma men aren't just another type of guy. They're the ones who make a room fall silent the moment they walk in. There's a strange, almost magnetic charge around them that's both unsettling and fascinating, the kind that has people questioning themselves before they've even said a word. Fun fact, studies have shown that people are naturally drawn to those who are hard to read because mystery is psychologically irresistible. And that's precisely where the Sigma male thrives. He's not here to impress anyone, doesn't care about fitting in, and could vanish tomorrow without so much as a goodbye. He's the calm in a world that's constantly trying to be louder. And it's that quiet power that makes him so intimidating, and think of him like a riddle wrapped in confidence, and he doesn't care if you solve him or not. Number 1. Rarely seek out praise so they seem superior. Sigma men don't go looking for anyone's approval, and that simple fact makes them seem almost untouchable. While most people are busy trying to be seen, heard, or praised, Sigma men are entirely unbothered by anyone's opinion. They have a quiet confidence that doesn't need constant validation. This lack of need to be liked or admired can make them come across as superior, even if that's not their intention. It's just that they operate on their own terms, and that kind of independence tends to mess with people. When someone doesn't care to impress, it has a curious effect. It leaves others a bit on edge. People are so used to those tiny hints of neediness in others, whether it's fishing for compliments or throwing in a subtle brag, that when they meet someone who doesn't engage in any of that, it throws them off. A Sigma man doesn't go out of his way to highlight his strengths or downplay his weaknesses. He's just there, quietly grounded in who he is. And because he's not looking for approval, he ends up seeming like he's operating on a different level, which is both fascinating and intimidating. To others, it's like he's playing a game they didn't even know existed, and winning without trying. It's the silent self-assurance that really gets under people's skin. They're left wondering, why doesn't he need my approval, or what does he know that I don't? It's almost as if his disinterest in validation becomes a sort of power. And the irony is, by not seeking any admiration, he ends up getting it anyway, because everyone's trying to figure him out. Number 2, their presence forces people to rethink their own identity. Being around a Sigma man is like stepping into a mirror you didn't ask for. He has a way of making people confront things about themselves without saying a word. His quiet presence alone can be enough to get others second-guessing their choices, goals, and even their values. It's not that he's judging, he's just so solid in who he is that it triggers a kind of self-reflection in everyone else. When someone has that kind of self-assurance, it naturally makes people wonder if they're missing something. He's a bit of an enigma, and people tend to project their own insecurities onto him. They start questioning things they never thought twice about before. They wonder if they're working hard enough, if they're living with purpose, if they're playing it safe. And because a Sigma man doesn't feel the need to justify himself, others feel compelled to do it for him. He's like the calm eye of the storm, effortlessly holding his own while everyone around him scrambles to define themselves. It's an unintentional power move, really. Most people thrive on reassurance from others. They want to be told they're doing fine, that they're on the right path, but a Sigma man's mere existence challenges that comfort zone. There's no trying to impress, no bending to fit in, no watering himself down to make others comfortable. And because he's not giving out any clues, people fill in the gaps with their own insecurities. Ironically, this self-contained nature makes him intimidating without him lifting a finger. He's not interested in pushing people to be better or calling them out. His groundedness just naturally exposes the fact that many around him are still figuring things out. And in a world full of oversharers, that quiet confidence is enough to make anyone wonder if they've got it all wrong. Number 3, they're ruthless with their own desires, and that shows self-mastery. A Sigma man's mastery over his own desires is one of his most powerful traits, and it's also what makes him stand out in a crowd where most people are ruled by their impulses. He's not the kind of guy who's constantly looking for the next thrill or bending over backward to chase after every fleeting whim. He understands his desires but doesn't let them take control. To him, mastering himself is more important than any temporary satisfaction. While most people are getting pulled left and right by temptations, he's quietly standing firm, holding the reins over his own mind. This control isn't just about resisting impulses, it's about knowing what truly matters to him. He's thought it all through, what he values, what he's working towards, and what he's willing to invest his energy in. So while others might get sidetracked by distractions or jump at every shiny opportunity, a Sigma man only makes moves that align with his bigger vision. He's not anti-fun, but he's selective about how he spends his time, and he won't waste it chasing after something that doesn't add up to his goals. His restraint can make people uncomfortable because it's rare. In a world where overindulgence is the norm, he's a reminder that not everything needs to be chased or conquered. And let's be real, nothing baffles people more than someone who has a choice to indulge but decides to hold back. It makes him appear untouchable, like he's operating on a higher level of discipline that few can relate to. This unshakable self-mastery sets him apart, and whether people admit it or not, it's a quality that leaves an impression. He's proof that sometimes the most impressive thing a person can do is simply hold back. Number 4, indifferent to being liked, which makes people want their approval even more. A Sigma man's indifference to being liked is like his personal superpower, even if he didn't exactly ask for it. He isn't rude or standoffish, he just genuinely doesn't care if people approve of him or not. He's living life on his own terms, and that calm confidence naturally makes people crave his approval even more. When someone is this unaffected by outside opinions, it sparks a strange kind of fascination. Suddenly, people who wouldn't normally care what anyone thinks start wanting to know what he thinks. It's the classic, you always want what you can't have effect. Most people are so used to others subtly fishing for compliments, or at least showing some interest in being liked, that a Sigma's indifference feels like a mystery begging to be solved. He doesn't hand out easy validations, and that lack of reassurance makes people curious about where they stand with him. It's not that he's intentionally playing hard to get, but his self-assuredness does the job all on its own. In a world where everyone's hustling for likes and approval, his detachment is refreshing and intimidating. People wonder, what does he know that we don't? Why is he so content without anyone's validation? They can't wrap their heads around it, and so they try harder, hoping for even the slightest acknowledgement from him. But the funny part is, he's too busy doing his own thing to notice. His indifference isn't an act. He's genuinely invested in things that matter to him, not in the surface level stuff. And because he's not giving out his approval like candy, people find themselves drawn to him even more, hoping for just a hint of recognition. It's ironic, really, by not needing anyone's approval, he ends up commanding everyone's respect. Number 5, there's an aura of unpredictability that hints at danger. A Sigma man carries an aura of potential danger, and it's not because he's trying to scare anyone. He doesn't walk around with a "don't mess with me" sign, but there's something about his presence that suggests he knows how to handle himself and that he won't hesitate to if necessary. It's not about aggression, it's about an underlying confidence that makes people think twice. There's a calm, almost watchful energy to him, like he's already 2 steps ahead, sizing up the room without saying a word. This quiet edge can be unsettling because it breaks away from the norm. Most people wear their intentions on their sleeves. They smile wide, talk loudly, make sure everyone knows they're friendly or harmless. A Sigma man doesn't do any of that. His vibe is more like, I'm here and I don't need to explain myself. It's an assurance that doesn't need to prove anything. And that lack of neediness is what gives him this aura of unpredictability. People around him instinctively know he's not the type to be pushed, and that if someone were bold enough to test him, they'd probably regret it. What really gets under people's skin is that he's fully in control of this energy. He's not walking around looking for trouble, but if it finds him, he'll handle it without a fuss. This subtle confidence creates a natural boundary around him. People respect his space and are careful not to cross any lines. It's as if they can sense that poking a sleeping tiger might not end well. The irony is, he's probably one of the most grounded people in the room. Yet because he's so self-contained, people project all sorts of mystery and danger onto him. And maybe that's part of the allure. He doesn't say much, but something about him tells you he's not to be underestimated. Number 6, unavailable by choice, always pursuing their own growth. A Sigma man is never fully available because he's constantly working on himself. While others are eager to jump into every social invitation, scrolling endlessly or getting lost in small talk, he's focused on his own growth. He's not isolating himself to seem mysterious or aloof. He simply has things to do, and most of them don't involve seeking attention or validation from others. This habit of disappearing into his own world gives people the impression he's untouchable or always one step out of reach, and that drives curiosity through the roof. To him, self-improvement isn't a phase or something he does to impress others. It's just part of his routine. He's reading, learning, challenging himself and setting goals that only he knows about. His priorities aren't dictated by what's trending or who's around. They're grounded in his own standards. And because of that, people feel like they're witnessing someone who's on an entirely different path, a path he doesn't feel the need to explain or broadcast. The result? People can't help but wonder what he's up to, why he's always in work mode, and what exactly he's building in that quiet space of his. They don't see someone who's bored or idle. They see someone who has purpose and drive, even if they don't understand what it's all about. And let's be real. In a world where most people are just killing time, seeing someone actively investing in themselves is almost intimidating. He's like that one friend who's mysteriously productive, who pops back into social life with new ideas, insights, or skills, and leaves people wondering where he finds the time. His unavailability isn't a ploy, it's simply him valuing his own growth. And ironically, by not constantly showing up, he leaves a much stronger impression than if he were always around. Number 7, able to walk away from anything, no second thoughts. A Sigma man has the unique ability to walk away from anything and mean it. This isn't a dramatic act or an empty threat, it's just the way he's wired. He values his peace and independence more than the comfort of staying in a situation that no longer serves him, whether that's a job, a friendship, or even a relationship. When he decides to leave, he doesn't look back, and that certainty catches people off guard. They're so used to others clinging to what's familiar that his willingness to move on feels almost unnerving. This trait isn't about being cold or heartless. It's about knowing his boundaries and refusing to settle for anything that compromises his standards or self-respect. He won't stay in a place out of fear or convenience, and he definitely won't stick around just to keep the peace. He's got an inner compass that's remarkably clear on what's worth his time and energy. And once something crosses the line, he's out. No second guessing, no regrets. People often misinterpret this as a lack of commitment, but it's actually the opposite. He's fully committed to himself, to his values, and to a life that aligns with his own terms. He's not going to bend or compromise just to avoid ruffling feathers. This can be unsettling to those who are used to emotional bargaining and half-hearted exits. A Sigma man doesn't do half-hearted. If he's staying, he's in 100%. But the second something stops making sense for him, he'll walk away with a calm finality that most people aren't prepared for. What really stuns people is the lack of drama. He doesn't make a scene, doesn't burn bridges. He just leaves with the quiet confidence that he'll be fine on his own. And that certainty, it's magnetic, powerful, and, let's be honest, a little intimidating. Number 8, their silence commands the room. The silence of a Sigma man is unlike any other. It's not the awkward kind of silence, and it's definitely not the kind that begs to be filled with chatter. His silence is deliberate, and it speaks louder than any words he could say. He doesn't feel the need to fill every gap in conversation or announce his thoughts to the world. Instead, he's comfortable letting his presence do the talking, and that alone makes people sit up and pay attention. There's something undeniably powerful about someone who can be completely at ease without a single word. People tend to find this quiet confidence a little unnerving. Most are used to others putting everything on display, but a Sigma man holds back, revealing just enough to keep others guessing. When he does speak, he chooses his words carefully, and that contrast between his usual quiet and his rare words gives each one extra weight. People lean in a bit closer, not wanting to miss a single thing he says because they know he won't repeat himself or waste words. This silence also creates a sort of mystery that people can't quite shake off. They start wondering what's going on in his mind, and the more they try to figure him out, the more captivated they become. He's not doing it on purpose, but this reserved nature makes him seem more interesting than someone who shares every thought that crosses their mind. He's like a locked book, and people can't help but feel compelled to open it, only to realize he's got the key hidden away. For a Sigma man, silence isn't empty. It's full of presence. He's saying something even when he's not saying anything at all, and that silent assurance speaks volumes. It's proof that he's got nothing to prove, and that in itself is more intriguing than 1,000 words ever could be. Number 9, intensity that cuts through distractions. A Sigma man has a laser focus that could make a sniper look distracted. While the world around him is swirling with distractions, social media, pointless drama, endless notifications, he's locked in on his goal like a man on a mission. It's not just about being task-oriented, it's about his ability to tune out everything else and immerse himself fully in whatever he's doing. Whether it's a project, a workout, or even a conversation, his focus is unwavering. It's almost as if the world fades away and he becomes the only thing that matters at that moment. This intense concentration is part of what makes him so unpredictable and, honestly, a little intimidating. People who interact with him can feel the weight of his attention. If he's with you, not half listening while scrolling through his phone. This kind of focus can make others feel like they're under a microscope, especially since it's rare to find someone so genuinely present in a world that thrives on divided attention. His undivided focus can be overwhelming, as if he's measuring every word and action against some invisible scale of importance. This can create a sense of pressure around him, but in the best possible way. You know that if you're in his orbit, you better bring your A game. But what makes his laser focus truly intimidating is the fact that it's always tied to something he's passionate about. He doesn't get distracted by trivial things or spend his time chasing the latest trends. He's got a purpose, and everything he does is a step towards something bigger. That single-mindedness means he's always evolving, always moving forward, while everyone else is stuck in the background scrolling through their feed. His intensity can be discomforting, but it's that same intensity that propels him toward greatness. And watching him zoom in on a goal with the precision of a hunter makes you wonder, what's he going to do next? Number 10, selective in allies, building strategic connections. A Sigma man doesn't just go through life willy-nilly, attaching himself to every person or group that comes his way. He's strategic when it comes to alliances, choosing only the people who align with his values or offer something that adds real value to his life. He's not interested in having a bunch of friends who are just there for the ride or people who expect him to play by society's rules. He doesn't need a posse to feel validated. In fact, he thrives in the solo lane. But when he does form a connection, it's not because he's looking for approval or security. It's because he sees something in that person that resonates with his purpose. This selectiveness is what makes his friendships or partnerships rare and, frankly, valuable. He doesn't waste time on shallow connections. He's about quality, not quantity. If you're in his circle, you've earned it. And it's clear that his trust doesn't come lightly. For those who are allowed into his inner world, the relationship becomes something unique. He's the kind of person who values loyalty over popularity, depth over surface-level interactions, and genuine growth over empty chatter. The result of all this is that the Sigma man is often misunderstood. People assume he's cold or standoffish because he keeps his distance. In reality, he's just calculated about where he invests his time and energy. This approach makes his alliances more powerful, more meaningful, and more intimidating. Others can sense that he doesn't need anyone to complete him, and yet, when he does choose to align with someone, it's a rare and exclusive bond. It's not just about being a loner, it's about being a strategic loner who knows exactly when and who to bring into his world, and that in itself is pretty intimidating. Sigma men don't fit into neat boxes, and that's exactly what makes them so powerful. They aren't bound by the expectations that govern most people's lives. Their independence, intensity, and ability to detach from anything that doesn't serve them make them the kind of men you can't ignore. It's not just the way they move through the world, it's how they make others feel in their presence, like they're a force to be reckoned with. From their laser focus to the strategic relationships they cultivate, every aspect of the Sigma man exudes an energy that demands respect. But here's the thing, this intimidation isn't born from arrogance or posturing. It comes from the quiet certainty that they don't need validation, approval, or anyone's permission to live on their terms. In a society that thrives on noise, they're the ones who speak volumes without saying a word. And that's a rarity that, whether you like it or not, demands attention. If you want to understand them, you have to get past the surface. And that's a challenge most people are too afraid to take on. So, the next time you encounter a Sigma man, don't mistake his silence or distance for weakness. It's a calculated power move, and one that's as rare as it is unforgettable. If you've made it this far, you're clearly intrigued by what you've just discovered about Sigma men. And honestly, if you want more of these raw, no-nonsense insights into the minds of the most captivating and complex individuals out there, you're in the right place. Don't just stand on the sidelines. Hit that subscribe button, because this is where the real conversations happen. Join us as we dive deep, strip away the cliches, and uncover the truths that others are too afraid to talk about. You won't regret it. Trust me. I will see you in the next video.